Hello, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Dana from Mimi's Little City Homestead, and today I'm going to make a strawberry jelly. And this is a recipe that was given to me by a friend who took it off of another website, and it was for a jam using Vernors. And I decided to put a little bit of a twist on it and make it into a jelly. Because I haven't made a jelly yet, I've made all jam or preserves, and jellies are good for people who can't eat the seeds of the strawberry jam for medical reasons, or just don't like the seeds. This is something I want to show you today that gives you kind of a preview of what it is and how it works, because I have used this for many, many years, probably 20 years, in processing tomatoes, sauces, juices, all kinds of products with tomatoes. And it has been a huge time saver. This comes with a little screen inside with the holes in it so the fruit and juice will come out, or just juice, depending on what you're using it for. This one is the berry screen. So this is going to take out just about all of those strawberry seeds, and what it doesn't get out when I strain it, when I strain the juice through a cloth, it will get the rest of them. For the majority of this you don't have to put your fruit in a jelly bag after you've cooked it and decided, I'm going to make jelly. So you've got to put it in your jelly bag, hang that 12 to 24 hours to get all the juice out. This is so much faster. You don't have to mess with those bags, and it will work on any blackberries, strawberries, anything you want to put through it. And I'm going to show you how that works. There's a tomato screen that has bigger holes in it so that more of the pulp can come out, or just juice if you're juicing tomatoes. All the bad part, stems, seeds, skins, everything comes out this end and goes into this garbage bowl, and all the good stuff goes down this into your good can. So this is all the strawberry waste that I don't need for making the jelly. We're gonna make a Vernors jelly. So these are Michigan strawberries. I picked them over at Harvey's. My grandsons and I did. This is where we go and get all of our strawberries. But Michigan strawberries are really very good. It's getting late in the season. Some of them are smaller, but the taste is really good. Then we've got, of course, Michigan-made Vernors. This was made it's been well over 100 years ago when this was invented, and the person that was working on it was a pharmacist. He went off to the Civil War and left his ginger ale in a oak barrel. When he came back 4 years later, he discovered that it had such a different taste and was so much better than regular ginger ale. Mixing those together, we're gonna make a pure Michigan strawberry jelly. And this is gonna save you a ton of time. We're gonna do our berries this way, and then we're gonna strain them for juice, and I'm gonna introduce something else to you that you may not have seen, maybe you have, but we're gonna look at a different type of pectin to use with this jelly. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue running this through my sieve here, and I'll show you how it works. So you can put all your berries whole with the tops on them. I mean, wash them, make sure there's no bad spots, but you don't have to take any of those tops off. And I know when you cut them off, you're not you're not losing a lot of fruit that way, but this way you don't lose any of the fruit, because it's all gonna go down inside the drainer down here after we turn our crank. And we have a little piece of equipment here that will push down the berries and get them down in there. But we're gonna turn this, and as we crank it, you're gonna see all of the bad part of the strawberry that we don't need. The leaves and the skins and the seeds are gonna go into my garbage bowl. The rest of this is gonna go right down into my juice bowl I have set up. And you can see nothing else but juice comes out here. Everything is going in there, including the green top. And what I normally do when I run stuff through this, it's called a Victorio Strainer. Johnny Apple is another brand. But these are not that expensive. I've had this one for a very long time. My mother-in-law had one that she let me use when I did canning back in the day, and I finally said I would like one of those for myself. So my sister and I have used this for a lot of different things, but it's really super easy. You just keep cranking it until you get all your strawberries through there. Get your juice all made up, and then after we're done doing that, we're gonna strain it. So we're gonna get all of anything that might be little tiny bits of fruit or seeds that are in my juice is going to come out. So right now I have the berry screen. This is the tomato screen. They also sell what's called a salsa screen, which will let out not only the tomato juice, but a little tiny bit of the seeds and a lot of the pulp or pieces of tomato, so you can make a salsa. They also have one that is for grapes. It's not a screen actually. You use the tomato screen with the grapes, and there's a spiral inside here. When I turn the handle, the spiral forces the fruit around and through the sieve and out the end, and that spiral comes in a bigger size so that the grapes can go through it. So I just wanted to show you kind of the size of the screen for a tomato, and this is the one that comes with the Victorio Strainer. If you buy one, you have to buy the berry screen and the salsa screen and the grape spiral all separately, but they're not that much. They're like 10 bucks, I think. We're going to strain it into our pan that we're going to cook it in. There's measurement in the back of the jam pan here. I only need 5 cups of juice to make this. So I'm gonna put my strainer inside my pan, and then I'm going to take a very, 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 very old tea towel that's very thin, but still is better than cheesecloth. And I'm going to run my strawberry juice right through that into the pan, and that will take out any very large pieces of pulp that I don't want, and also any smaller seeds that might still be in there. And that's not gonna have to sit for too long because we took most of the pulp and everything out of it. So that won't be blocking the towel. Once we get this all strained and get our juice clear from having anything in it that we don't want, we can add our ginger ale and our pectin and our sugar and a little bit of lemon juice. And then we'll be able to can it up, and I'm gonna can it in my steam canner today. There we are. Juice is in there straining right now, and I'll bring you back when it's all done. Okay, so I have here now my juice for my strawberries. It's about 3.5 cups. And we're going to add our Vernors, a 1/2 cup to our 3.5 cups. This is just regular, not diet, just regular. So we set that aside. Put our Vernors in with our strawberry juice. Look at that fizz up. I could probably drink that. It's a little bit foamy, but that'll go away. And now I want to tell you about something that's a different type of pectin. It's called Pomonas pectin, and I've never found this in the store, but I order it from Amazon. I get 2 boxes at a time, and 1 box, I think it says on here, 1 box makes up to 22 half pints or 8-ounce jars, which are the jelly jars. This is a 2-part pectin, and so you can use as little as 3/4 of a cup of sugar all the way up to 2 cups of sugar. You don't have to go over that with this pectin. Other pectins like Sure Gel don't allow you. There is a Sure Gel that's a low sugar, but it still takes quite a bit of sugar. This one will go as little as 3/4 of a cup, which is, or also it will do no sugar. And it's a 2-part, and the reason why you don't need as much sugar is because other pectins will use the sugar to thicken the gel. This uses calcium water. So in this box comes a little packet with calcium powder, which you mix a 1/2 teaspoon into a 1/2 cup of cold water, and this will last forever and ever and ever. It never goes bad. And you only use teaspoons full at a time of this. So you put the lid on it and keep it in your fridge for the next time you make jelly. It also comes with a powder packet of pectin, which is the larger package. So this recipe is going to take 2 cups of sugar, and that's all. For our 2 cups of sugar, for this recipe, we're mixing in 4 teaspoons of the pectin powder into the sugar. 4. Could I have used 3/4 of a cup of sugar instead of the 2 cups? Yes. This recipe happens to call for the 2 cups, and it's from the box of Pomona. And now into the juice part, we'll go 4 teaspoons of the calcium. Then we're just gonna put the lid on, put it in the fridge. Before you use it, mix it with a spoon or shake it really good in the jar so you make sure it's all mixed up, because the calcium powder will kind of settle down toward the bottom. So now we're just gonna stir our calcium water into our juice for our strawberries. Now this is not 100% clear juice. It's still gonna make jelly. So we're gonna pour that into our jam pan. We're going to take our powder and our sugar and stir that in together. Kind of like you do when you make regular jelly with pectin or jam. You always stir your pectin into your sugar. It keeps it from getting lumpy and it mixes it together really well so it will cook together. And then what we're gonna do next is take our jam pan over to the stove and we're gonna get that juice and calcium water all coming to a boil. Once that happens, we're gonna mix in our sugar and then we're going to boil it for about a minute after we've mixed in our pectin, and then we'll be ready to can it. So I've got my heat on medium high and I'm just gonna stir this up and keep stirring until this comes to a rolling boil, and then we will add our sugar and pectin mix. In the meantime, there's my steam canner. I want my steam canner water in the bottom, 180 degrees, because we're going to hot pack, which is hot liquid into hot jars. It's gonna go into our steam canner. You can see my jars are in there right now, heating up, but it's gonna go into the steam canner, and once it comes up to my elevation's cooking temperature, which is the dark green strip, and we've gone over this before, there is a video about how the steam canners work, but there is that dial on top that's gonna tell me when I'm in my area's cooking range or steam range, and then we're going to steam can the jars for 10 minutes. So right now, 180 degrees is what I want my water at, not quite a simmer. And then once we add our jars, we'll turn the heat up and build the steam. One thing I almost forgot, before we add our pectin and sugar, I do need to add a 1/4 cup of bottled lemon juice. The pH in bottled lemon juice is consistent, whereas if you use fresh lemons when you're canning, it's harder to be sure you're at the proper pH to be able to steam, can, or water bath the jelly. So we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and I will make sure the recipe is in the description also. So you don't have to stir it constantly till it gets to that boil, but give it a stir every minute or so, and we will add in our 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And that way we know we have the right acidity with our fruit, which is pretty sweet, in our lemon juice. Are gonna make sure that we are up to the proper pH. Now the recipe says this should make about 5 jelly jars. I've done some extras just in case. And also, once you get your jelly with your sugar and pectin added to it, you can taste it. It's gonna be hot, so you have to be careful, but you can taste it to see if you think it's sweet enough for you. If not, you can always add more sugar to it. I think 2 cups is gonna be just fine for this jelly. And also, because Vernors has changed over the years, they used to use real ginger. I mean, that's what it was developed for by the pharmacist, for drinking ginger ale when we don't feel good. But over the years, it's been changed mainly to natural flavors and not as much ginger as what it used to have. And the bite in Vernors is what I really like the best. So what I'm going to do is add just a pinch of ginger powder, and I mean a pinch. Gonna add that right in, and now we're coming to a full boil, so we're gonna stir that some more, stir in our ginger, and you can see that it's foaming, and this is another good reason for a pot with high sides. It's a heavy stainless steel with a heavy bottom, but it's also very tall. But now that it's at a boil, we're gonna go ahead and add our sugar and pectin mixture, and we're gonna boil this for 1 minute. Also, you can add like just a small amount of butter to keep it from building up any kind of foam, which will subside eventually, but maybe like just a half a teaspoon even is enough to be able to keep it from foaming and getting too thick. So we're gonna keep boiling away here and stirring. When that minute is up, we'll be all ready to take it off and put it over on the counter to jar up into our jelly jars and get ready to can. Okay, our timer's up. I'm gonna shut off the heat, stir it just for a couple more seconds. I don't know if it's easy for you to see or not, but it definitely is getting thicker. And once this Pomona pectin in this gel, once this all cools, it'll be thick enough and it'll be just like jelly. Right now it just looks real liquidy and runny still, but trust me, it won't be. Okay, so we have our jars ready. Just took them out of the canner. They're hot. I've got a little bit of foam here on the jelly, not much. It will can and go toward the top of your jelly. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that off. Just kind of skim it a slight bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and fill our jelly jars, and we're gonna give them a 1/4 inch head space. And that head space is the air between your jelly and the lid of the jar. And the reason we're going to fill it up that far is because we want that that air come out during the canning process, be forced out of the jar. That's why we put our lids on fingertip tight. And then when they set, you'll see that the bottom of the lid will have sucked down concave onto our jar. And that's what we want. We want that taken, all that air out of there, and we want it to seal. Now I'm going to take a paper towel with some white or clear vinegar and just go all around the top of this jar. So when we put on our lid in our ring, we're going to get that good seal. There's not going to be any sticky, messy stuff there, and only fingertip tight to interfere with our seal. So again, go around the lid, put your lid on. Don't use your elbows, don't use your arms, don't crank it on there really hard. And I'm gonna keep jarring up my jelly until I've filled as much as I have in my pot here. We'll see how many we end up with, and we'll put them in the steam canner. So now we'll take our jars and put them in our steam canner. I'm gonna take the rest of my vinegar, pour that into the water of my steam canner. Keeps my jars sparkly, keeps any deposits from my water off the jars, off the lid, so that's what we're gonna do next. So now you can see steam canner building up steam. Drop in my vinegar, check my levels, nothing has. These can boil dry if you leave them on a high heat the entire 10 minutes. You know, because there's only 2¼ or 2½ quarts of water in here. But if you make sure every time you get ready to can, if you've heated up your jars or done whatever you've done with the canner, you just want to make sure your water is still at the proper level when you start, and you shouldn't have a problem with it. So we're going to go ahead and load our jars in. And I ended up getting sick. And be careful, the jars are super hot. We brought it right up to a full rolling boil and canned it right away. We don't want it to cool down and turn into a gel before we've even canned it. So now I'm going to put my canner lid on. You should have, there is a steam hole, it's right here. That's going to face the back of your stove, so you're not shooting any steam out forward toward you. So fruit saver facing out. I have my water heating up. I'm going to turn it up again to bring that up into my gauge area, which is a dark green stripe. You need to know your altitude. If you have any questions on steam canning, check out my video. I'll go ahead and link it with a card here. So if you're interested in finding out more about these, 2½ quarts of water in the bottom makes steam. This can be interchangeable with a water bath, which holds 16 quarts of water. And you must have your water 1 inch or 2 above your jars in those canners. So now we're going to watch when that gets into my area on the gauge. I'm going to start my timer for 10 minutes. Okay, when you see the canner lid doing this, jumping a little bit from the steam, that's when you want to turn it down just slightly. We're going to open the steam canner away from you, and there's the power of what canned your jelly. It's all ready to come out and sit for 12 to 24 hours. Don't even tip it to get any of the water off. Trust me, these are so hot. That will evaporate on its own. That's some nice looking jelly there. So that's the way to go, I think. I think if you haven't used the Pomona Pectin yet, you need to try this. Give it a try. If you're into lower carb, here I'm pinging. If you're into a lower carb, less sugar, this is the pectin that will allow you to do that, even no sugar. It comes with a little insert that tells you all about it with recipes. But it also is vegan and gluten-free, and you can use any type of sugar, honey, agave, xylitol, fruit juice concentrate, stevia, or any other sweeteners. And I will put that in the description. Michigan strawberries from Harvey's and Teconcha, Michigan made Vernors. This is pure Michigan here, and it's going to be so good. Thank you very much for canning with me today. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Please like and consider subscribing. We're getting into blueberry season coming up very quickly, so we're going to start working on blueberry things. Strawberries are getting ready to be done for the year. This is kind of an out the door last project, and I hope this encourages you to try it. Thanks again.